We're gonna go look at one of George Washington's headquarters here in Wayne, New Jersey. And here's a bust of him in front of Wayne City Hall. All right, let's go take a look. Wayne takes a lot of pride in having the Washington's headquarters in its town. They've got these banners along the roads near the Day Mansion. And here's where we go in. And that's the Day Mansion. It's beautiful. Now let's see here. This might be the road to the county golf course. It has its own visitor center. I think things are closed because of the pandemic, but I'll park here and then walk around the grounds. It's nice that there's a lot of grounds around the house. The two Washington's headquarters I'm familiar with in White Plains, New York, are kind of surrounded by regular houses that have, as the neighborhood has grown up around them. But here, a lot of this land, I think, was part of the Day farm, and now it's a county golf course, but it still has that rural character. I just want to grab my notes here, which I'll refer to as we're walking around. Now, one of the things about Washington's headquarters is that there are a lot of them. Unfortunately, there's a lot still standing. But this looks like one of the nicer ones. There's also one in Morristown, New Jersey, which is near here. I haven't been to yet, but I'd like to take a look at that sometime. Morristown also makes a big deal of their Washington's headquarters. Washington's headquarters, Preakness. This was like this area is called Preakness in Wayne. It's and the horse race named the Preakness is named after this area. I guess somebody from Wayne went down to Baltimore, and so anyway, Washington stayed here twice for a month in July of 1780, and then for almost 2 months between October and November of 1780. Headquarters here at the house of Colonel Theunis Day. The main army encamped along Totowa Heights. Totowa is the next town next to Wayne. So there's the visitor center. Let's go look at the house. It's a brilliant day. This is Halloween of 2020. And we have been sort of suffering through almost 2 solid weeks of overcast skies and rain. And this is the first bright blue sky day we've had in a while. It's a little on the crisp side, and guess what? It's supposed to rain tomorrow, but I'll enjoy this day out. So the Day Mansion was built in 1772. So this house was pretty new when George Washington came through here 4 years after the start of the Revolutionary War. And 3 years before its end. This was originally known as Bloomsburg Manor, but it was built by Colonel Theonis Day. It's open year-round. I think it's open primarily like Wednesdays through Sundays. I think they take a couple days off. So Colonel Day, his full name is Dirk Jansen Seeken Day, a soldier for the Dutch West India Company, was the first of his family to settle in the colonies. And then his grandson Dirk Day, a Dutch-born planter, purchased 600 acres of land in Preakness Valley, now Wayne Township, New Jersey. So this was Dirk Day's house. He passed this mansion on to his son Theonis. Theonis was married to Hester Schuyler. There's another old New York name. I believe Alexander Hamilton was married to one of the Schuylers. So it's a mixture of stone and brick. Theonis was a political figure. He's a member of the militia and a charter trustee of the Queen's College, which is now Rutgers University. So they have nice gardens, very well kept up. Gee, George could have come out here and played 18, take his mind off planning battles against the British in the 1780s. So this house was only 8 years old when George Washington stayed here, but that's not all. He also had numerous advisors staying with him, including some big names, Alexander Hamilton and General Anthony Wayne, who Wayne, New Jersey is named after, and also the Marquis de Lafayette from France, Major General Lord Stirling from Scotland. Let's see. Oh, Benedict Arnold was also here. And also was General William Howe, who was the commander of the British forces. So I don't know, maybe after George Washington left, the British moved in. When I mentioned White Plains, New York, and there being Washington's headquarters there, there's also a Howe's headquarters in Scarsdale, which is also now a private home. But the Washington's headquarters are preserved so that you can visit them. I think they built the house facing south to capture the sun, which is always a good idea. Let's do a 360. Let's walk through this garden here. Now, what the story goes, when Alexander Hamilton was here, he was engaged to Elizabeth Schuyler, and he wanted to get married, but George Washington told him, hey, we got a revolution going on here. You got to hold off from getting married. And so he did hold off until the winter, and then he went up to Albany, New York, and got married. There's a sundial. Still some flowers left over. Last night it got down below freezing, so these flowers took it hard. I think they mentioned that there was a kitchen outside of the house. So it might have been right outside the house. I don't know if it was one of these other buildings or if they've just been built to look like the main house. But anyway, Alexander Hamilton wrote a lot of love letters to Elizabeth Schuyler because he missed her and he wanted to get married to her. So romance as well as revolution was on Alexander Hamilton's mind when he was here in Wayne, New Jersey, in the Preakness Valley. So Washington would be here, but then he'd go away to like meet the troops, including the French, and then he'd come back, and I guess it's one of the times that he was away, it's when they discovered that Benedict Arnold was betraying the American positions and became known as a traitor. So this is Georgian style architecture with English and Dutch influences, and it was built on a 600-acre lot, and now it sits on 377 acres, so still a good amount of land surrounding the house. Beautiful house. Anyway, the windows are kind of higher, otherwise I'd try to take a peek in. Maybe we can see something. I think they have original furnishings, or at least furnishings that look just like the originals. Here's the official plaque. Acquired by Passaic County, New Jersey in 1930. So it's been in public hands for 90 years. It was owned by 30 different owners between Theunus Day's time and 1930. You can't really see in the windows. I can't really get a great angle. They look like just the way the glass is reflecting it. I almost wonder whether that's the original glass, which back in the 1700s was imperfect. It still got the job done. So I don't know how many bedrooms and baths this is, but I'm sure if Zillow had it on the market, they would give us that information. And you'd also have to pay a lot of taxes, property taxes, because this New Jersey is the high property tax state of the United States. So anyway, that's a quick look at the Day Mansion here on Halloween 2020. Thanks for coming with me. I discovered another historic house here in Wayne, and I believe it's pronounced Van Riper Hopper House. And it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1972. And it was placed on the register because of its unique construction and design. And it was built in 1786 by Uriah Van Riper for his bride, Maria Burdan. And Burdan Avenue is a major street in Wayne, New Jersey. And I was just looking at the website from the town of Wayne, and there's a lot of original furnishings in the house and some exhibits, including exhibits about the Terhune family, which is another major street named after them in Wayne. So this house is more than 200 years old, coming up on 250 years old, and it's on its original site. Isn't it something that when back in the day people built houses for their fiancés or for their kids to give away as wedding presents? What a nice present that is. This out here is a reservoir that wasn't here when this house was built, but maybe there was a lake here and they just expanded it to make the reservoir. So here's another look at the house. Do another 360 walk around on Halloween 2020. We looked at the Day Mansion, which is at the southern tip of Wayne. This is more in the northern part of Wayne. Wayne's a suburb of New York City, 50,000 population. There's often signs warning you about ticks. Lyme disease is a big deal in the northeastern U.S. as well as other parts of the United States. And I am a former Lyme disease victim myself. I had it pretty bad actually when I was in my 30s. So I don't recommend it to anyone. It's actually kind of a scary disease too. So we're talking about something scary on Halloween. Anyway, they've built this community garden to be reflective of the agricultural past, tie it into the homestead here. And there's a couple places in Wayne where they've preserved the original agricultural property. But Wayne is a suburb of about 50,000 population, and it's mostly single-family homes. I don't think there's any building more than 2 or 3 stories tall. And it's a very large land area town. And if you're familiar with New Jersey counties, which I was not before I moved here, but it's right on the border of Bergen County, which is the northernmost county in New Jersey. And Wayne is in Passaic County. And here's an old grinding wheel. You see these a lot at houses where they had mills and they ground the corn into like a flour. Yep, grinding wheel. Doremus grist mill, that's another name you see a lot around here, Doremus. And this was used to grind wheat into flour. So they grew wheat here. You don't hear about that too much in the northeastern U.S., but they used to grow it here. Van Stein Farm. I hope I'm not murdering all these Dutch names. I know someone who can correct me on the pronunciation, who's from Holland, in the comments. And there's another house with a van in the front of it, Van Dyne. I used to know Van Dynes in Illinois. Van Dyne House, relocated here in 1974, also entered into the State and National Register of Historical Places, built in 1706. Used by couriers during the Revolutionary War. Couriers for GW, George Washington. So this is great. They've done a great job. There's a couple of other smaller historical houses I've seen. Maybe we'll go by one more since it's such a beautiful day here in northern New Jersey on Halloween. I love the old stone construction. If you can find a stone house to buy these days, it's sought after. It maintains its value. Archaeological Research Lab for Wayne Township Historical Commission. That's kind of neat. You could use a fresh coat of paint, but on the other hand, that adds to the historical character. The Meade Van Dyne House. These houses all seem to have hyphenated names. The Meade Van Dyne House was constructed 1706 with evidence of a jambless fireplace, confirming its early Dutch influence and design. Served as a campsite during the American Revolution. So this area, as well as a lot of areas in the northeastern U.S. from Massachusetts all the way down to Virginia, are steeped in history involving the Revolutionary War. And then from Pennsylvania on south, it gets steeped in history of the Civil War in the 1860s. This is walking around the back of the Van Riper Hopper House. Let's see if we can see in this house. Can you see anything? Well, like a lot of things, it's closed during the pandemic. But it's still great to enjoy the outdoors. All right, we'll go to one more stop. Well, here's the other house, historic house in Wayne, New Jersey that I was thinking of, the Schoonmaker-Colfax House. And it was in the Schuyler family for 8 generations. And it's the oldest house in Wayne. It was built in the late 1600s. It's like 1696. And Schuyler, you recognize as a real Revolutionary War era name. That was the name of, last name of Alexander Hamilton's fiance. Schuyler family. And like the house we just looked at, the Van Riper Hopper House. This house is also on the National Register of Historic Places. And it's not really open to visitors. They've got a lot of historic looking furniture in there. It needs some work. Needs a new screen door here, but they didn't have a screen door back in the 1600s or 1700s, so you don't need a screen door. But it kind of sits here as a forgotten house across from a storage place on a busy commercial road here in Wayne. But when you come around the side and the back of the house, you see the old stone construction. And just to give you an idea of how the house is not ready for any kind of tours or visits, it's got stacks of chairs in this main room. See if we look in this one, if you get a flavor. And it's just waiting to be renovated. And it was built here on the Pompton River, which flows right in the back here. I'll show that to you in just a minute. So there's the Pompton River right there, flowing past. But especially on this end, when the stonework is exposed, it's really something. And things settle over time. I'll show you around the next wall. It kind of bulges out. I don't know whether that's intentional or what happens over time. This is how I got some of my information, by looking through the window and sort of reading that sign. Errant, the settler's name was Errant Schuyler. So this was built almost 100 years before the American Revolution, so you can just look at it and wonder what life was like back then. But you see here how the wall kind of bulges out, and they might have done a little extra concrete work to sort of keep it intact. But anyway, it's on the National Register of Historic Places, so it deserves and it needs some love. But it's another diamond in the rough here in Wayne, New Jersey. I'll just show you one more thing. This is a well here, by the way, but they've got boarded up so anybody doesn't try to go down it. But look at this old road sign. So this road here is called the Hamburg Turnpike. So when it has the word turnpike, that means it's a really old road. They might have even charged tolls in the old days. But this old road sign, probably from the 1700s, says 23 miles to Hoboken or Jersey City. Take your pick. The two of them are right next to each other. But when I commute into New York, I take the train from Wayne to Hoboken, New Jersey. So now I know it's 23 miles. And then I have to either take a ferry or a subway train over to Manhattan to get to New York City. So there it is. Colfax is a big name in the Civil War era. So I don't know if the Colfaxes here from Wayne are related to that name of renown, but here it is, the third house, historic house that we're taking a look at in Wayne. All right, thanks for joining me on Halloween 2020.